Look, man.
Danny, I know I look stupid.
You take cover!
When the smoke finally cleared, a massive yellow robot suddenly rose from the ground, staring at the towering figure before him. The officer was frozen in shock, but the robot quickly sensed danger closing in and bolted deep into the forest. By the time the officer snapped out of it, he ordered his men to give chase, determined to capture it alive and bring it back for study. But the next second, the robot transformed, instantly turning into a military jeep. Under a hail of heavy fire, the robot had no choice but to run for his life. After dodging a grenade from the military, he flipped out a blade from his wrist and sliced through two massive trees, temporarily blocking the soldiers behind him. But it didn't take long before they spotted him again. Just as he tried to duck into a quarry for cover, an armored vehicle slammed right into him, sending him flying. Heavily armed soldiers immediately surrounded him. Bumblebee quickly tried to explain himself.
Please, this is a mistake.
Stay cool. Hold your fire.
I don't want to hurt anyone.
Just as the two sides were in a standoff, a piercing roar tore through the sky. A jet fighter came screaming toward them.
Called in the Air Force.
That's not the Air Force.
It was none other than Bumblebee's archenemy, Blitzwing, the Decepticons' top enforcer.
Run.
Human soldiers were getting wiped out. Blitzwing then transformed mid-air and locked into a brutal fight with Bumblebee. One was a top-tier hunter, and the other was a coin-flip warrior. You'd think this fight would drag on for a while, but Blitzwing used his flight advantage to drag Bumblebee straight up into the sky. At the critical moment, Bumblebee drove his arm blade through Blitzwing's jet thrusters, and they crashed back down. But the second they hit the ground, Blitzwing whipped out a spinning blaster. After laying down heavy fire, he grabbed Bumblebee by the throat.
Tell me where your friends are hiding.
I'll never talk.
Is that right?
Blitzwing, seething with rage, brutally struck Bumblebee's neck and destroyed his voice box entirely. Then he hurled the badly wounded Bumblebee off the cliff. Just as Blitzwing moved in for the final blow, he had no idea Bumblebee already had a plan.
To death.
With a deafening explosion, Bumblebee took his enemy down for good. He won the fight, but his core systems were critically damaged. Even his memory module was badly corrupted. In the final moments before his energy ran out, he scanned a yellow Volkswagen Beetle nearby to disguise himself and slipped into a deep hibernation. No one could have imagined that this warrior who once shook the cosmos would end up sitting in a junkyard on Earth, until one girl showed up and set the wheels of fate turning again. Charlie fell in love with this beat-up car at first sight. Sure, it looked like it was about to fall apart, but she still climbed into the driver's seat to check it out. The inside was covered in dust, but she couldn't have been more excited. She didn't have nearly enough money to buy it, but the junkyard owner just gave it to her without a second thought. Charlie drove off in this little yellow car that was barely holding together. To everyone else, buying a wreck like this was absolutely crazy. But what they didn't know was that this car was about to change her life forever. That night, Charlie grabbed her tools and slid under the car to start fixing it. While she was shining her flashlight at the underside, she accidentally triggered something, and a pair of glowing blue eyes lit up beneath the car. Charlie was so terrified she almost ran for the door. But when she gathered the courage to look back, she realized the robot meant no harm. He was curled up shyly in the corner, like a frightened child.
Charlie, what was that noise?
Nothing, I'm fine. Mom, you should go back to bed. Everything's fine.
What the hell is that? What is that car doing in our garage?
As it turned out, when Bumblebee heard the noise, he quickly shifted back into car mode, which is why Charlie's mom didn't notice anything. Once her mom left, Bumblebee transformed again. Charlie mustered her courage and slowly approached him. But when Bumblebee noticed the wrench in her hand, he stumbled backward in fear. Charlie picked up on it right away, tossed the tool aside, and held her hands up to show she meant no harm. Bumblebee sensed the kindness in her and gently lowered his big head right into the palm of her hand. This sparked an unlikely friendship between two totally different worlds. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, two Decepticons, Shatter and Dropkick, had tracked their way to Earth. But when they encountered a human, they instantly erased him from existence. Then they shifted into vehicle mode and sped off. Back at base, Burns' aide handed him an intel report. Their satellites had picked up two unidentified objects entering Earth's atmosphere. The military immediately set up roadblocks along their projected path. Playing the old enemy of my enemy card, the Decepticons played the victim. They claimed to be space cops hunting a deadly fugitive named B-127. They wanted to use human satellites to track him down. Burns was firmly against it, but the top brass bought the story completely, hoping to get their hands on alien tech. So they began helping the Decepticons search for Bumblebee on a global scale. Meanwhile, while Charlie was away from home, Bumblebee tried to figure out human life by exploring the house. He watched the family dog squeeze through the doggy door back and forth and tried to fit through it himself. He pushed a little too hard and knocked the entire door right off its hinges. He nervously squeezed sideways into the living room, but his massive frame meant every tiny move knocked something over. He spotted a can of soda on the table and reached out curiously to grab it, but he couldn't control his grip, and the can crushed instantly, spraying brown liquid all over his face. Bumblebee panicked and flailed his arms, flipping the dining table in the process. After all that chaos, the TV caught his eye next. He was just about to sit on the couch to watch, but the soft cushions collapsed right under his weight. Then he moved on to the coffee maker. He fiddled with the dial on top, and coffee shot out like a fountain. Bumblebee tried to plug the leak, but it was no use. In a panic, he picked up the machine and yanked the power cord clean out of the wall. That's when he noticed the electrical outlet on the wall. Naturally curious, he stuck his metal finger right into it. And it was exactly this little stunt that let the military satellites pick up the energy spike from his body. Shatter and Dropkick locked onto the signal immediately and raced toward Charlie's house. At the same time, Charlie came home, and when she saw the total wreckage inside, she was absolutely stunned. But looking at Bumblebee's guilty, pitiful expression, she just couldn't bring herself to scold him. To keep her mom and stepdad from finding out, Charlie rushed the walking disaster out of the house. That's when her mom happened to come home. When she saw the state of the place, she went off on Charlie. Charlie tried to explain, but her mom wouldn't even let her get a word in. Heartbroken, Charlie grabbed her friend and took off in Bumblebee, but they hadn't gotten far when Burns and his troops cut them off. To protect Charlie, Bumblebee didn't hesitate for a second. He scooped her up and leapt off the hillside. That instinct to protect, it's what makes Bumblebee feel truly human. The deepest kind of love doesn't need a reason. It's written into the very core of who you are. But right after dodging the military, they ran straight into Shatter and Dropkick. Shatter fired an energy blast that sent Bumblebee flying from the shockwave, and Charlie was thrown clear.
He's hiding. Hey, look out!
Why isn't he fighting back? Why don't you fight?
Leave him alone, please!
The military arrived and hit Bumblebee with an EMP gun. Charlie rushed in to save him, but the massive shockwave knocked her out cold. Just like that, a defenseless Bumblebee was hauled off to a secret military base. Charlie was sent home by Burns, who told her mother to keep an eye on her daughter and warned them she'd been messing around with a war machine. Charlie pleaded that Bumblebee wasn't dangerous, but in the military's eyes, Bumblebee was a war machine. And in her parents' eyes, her stubbornness was just teenage rebellion. Nobody was willing to stop and listen to the truth. Defeated, Charlie went to her room and stared at a photo of her father. Bumblebee was the only one besides her dad who had ever made her feel like she had family. So she tracked down her friend, Memo, and made up her mind to rescue Bumblebee.
Good luck. You two. Get over here.
In the dim confines of the secret military base, Bumblebee hung from heavy chains suspended in the air. The two Decepticons were interrogating him brutally, trying to extract the Autobot's location. But when they found out his memory module was damaged, a furious Dropkick kicked him hard and was about to finish him off for good. But right then, the holographic projector inside Bumblebee suddenly activated on its own. A towering hologram of Optimus Prime appeared in the air.
We will fight on. Regroup, rebuild, and retake our home. But we must find refuge first. You will travel to Earth. Once we've gathered the others, we'll join you. You must protect the planet. If the Decepticons find it, then our people are truly finished. Stay safe, soldier.
Learning that Optimus Prime would soon arrive, the two Decepticons realized this was their chance to wipe out all the Autobots at once.
This is our chance to wipe out the Autobot resistance for good.
We'll burn the whole planet to cinders.
Meanwhile, the scientist who'd been helping them finally uncovered the Decepticons' true plan. But the moment he got Burns on the phone, Shatter brutally eliminated him, reduced him to nothing. Before leaving, the Decepticons blasted Bumblebee one more time, nearly destroying his energy core. Then they headed for a nearby signal tower. By then, Charlie had made it to the base. Seeing Bumblebee drained of all energy, her heart shattered, but she refused to give up. She spotted a few high-voltage stun guns nearby and decided it was worth a shot. Anything was worth trying. She used them to try to jumpstart Bumblebee. After several powerful jolts, Bumblebee still showed no response. Just as Charlie was about to lose hope, Bumblebee slowly rose beside her, his blue eyes flickering back to life. The energy surge had actually repaired his memory module. He finally remembered who he was. Miracles have a way of happening on that very last try. Without Charlie's stubborn refusal to give up, Bumblebee might have stayed a pile of scrap metal forever. At the same time, Burns arrived at the base with his soldiers. Not knowing the full picture, they opened fire on Bumblebee. Pushed past his breaking point, Bumblebee drew his weapons. With soldiers' lives on the line, Charlie rushed in to stop Bumblebee. The moment he saw her, Bumblebee calmed down instantly. He realized the priority right now was stopping the Decepticons from sending that signal. So Bumblebee shifted into car mode, and they sped off with Charlie. Shatter and Dropkick were already powering up the device. To keep Charlie safe, Bumblebee tucked her inside a crate far from the action. Once she was secure, Bumblebee locked onto his targets and hit them with his energy cannon. Dropkick charged down from the tower and engaged Bumblebee in combat. Their fight blew apart the crate Charlie was hiding in, forcing her into the battlefield. Charlie realized that if she could destroy the tower's power cell, she could kill the signal. And a nearby tower structure led straight to where the cell was. She sprinted for the tower. Bumblebee caught on to what she was doing and covered her from behind. Once Charlie started climbing, Bumblebee went all out on the offensive, losing ground on the surface. Dropkick transformed into a helicopter and rained fire down on Bumblebee from above, but Bumblebee seized the moment and snatched up a chain.
Think these little chains can hold?
Meanwhile, Burns flew in by helicopter. Now aware of the Decepticon scheme, he tried to intervene, but Shatter blasted him with a missile. As his chopper spiraled out of control, Bumblebee stepped up once again in the nick of time. Burns looked at the one who just saved his life, and he finally let go of all his prejudice. By then, Shatter had spotted Charlie up on the tower. Just as Shatter transformed into a jet and closed in, Bumblebee nailed him with a dead-on energy blast, knocking him out of the sky. The two locked into a vicious brawl. Charlie, meanwhile, pulled the power cell out of the tower. A furious Shatter aimed an energy cannon right at Charlie, but Bumblebee tackled Shatter to the ground. The gap in power between them, though, left Bumblebee completely outmatched. Just as Shatter was about to deliver the final blow, Bumblebee suddenly raised his arm and fired an energy blast at the dam behind them. The dam burst, and water came roaring in. A massive cargo ship came surging toward them on the floodwater. Bumblebee locked his arms around Shatter, ready to go down together. The devastating impact and explosion wiped Shatter out completely. Charlie dove off the tower into the water below, swimming desperately toward Bumblebee at the bottom. Thankfully, Bumblebee was okay. Before long, they both made it back to shore.
You need to get out of here.
What do you mean?
I mean, my friends are coming. And they're gonna be looking for him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
After saying goodbye to Burns, the two made their way to a hilltop. Bumblebee knew his mission wasn't over yet. For Charlie's safety, he had to leave her behind. He transformed into a brand new Camaro and drove off down the highway, where he finally reunited with Optimus Prime, who just arrived on Earth. After watching the whole film, what stays with me most is this idea of protection. What defines Bumblebee isn't his cold Cybertronian designation, B-127. It's the way he'd hide his wounds in the dark of night, tuck away his weapons and curl up in a corner, just to give one girl a sense of safety. This story isn't just about saving the world. It's about growing up, healing, and finding your courage. It reminds us that in this complicated world, even if you feel like a beat-up old car that's about to break down, even if you feel covered in dust and invisible to everyone, as long as you still carry love and the will to stand up for someone, you'll find your hero moment in that light that stretches across the stars.